Mag, President Trump officially accepting the Republican nomination on the final day of the Republican National Convention last night with a promise to unify and restore American greatness.
I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. Under our leadership, the United States will be respected again. No nation will question our power. No enemy will doubt our might. Our borders will be totally secure. Our economy will soar. We will return law and order to our streets, patriotism to our schools, and importantly, we will restore peace, stability, and harmony all throughout the world.
Joining me now is the chief pollster of the Trafalgar Group and co-host of Polling Plus, Robert Cahaly, back with me. Robert, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. What do your polls show you at this point in the race?
Well, what has happened since the assassination attempt is we've seen a significant amount of people move to undecided. We're showing a rise in undecided votes by 2 or 3%. And I think that they may very well migrate over to Trump. And this is the polls we did between the assassination attempt and last night. And that kind of mimics what the CBS poll said. And I'll be interested to see how many of those people then pick a side after last night's speech and the excerpts of last night's speech that will be circulating through social media.
Well, it's interesting that it is still such a tight race, though, Robert. I mean, Trump, I know, expanded his lead over Biden nationally after the assassination attempt. A new CBS poll conducted after the shooting finds that 52% of voters would support Trump in the election if it were held today. 47% of voters said that they would cast their ballots for Biden. But, Robert, it's still a very tight race. I would have expected a little more expansion on the Trump side. Am I wrong?
There just wasn't a lot of room there. I mean, this is a very, divided electorate. They're on two different sides. What the significant difference is the enthusiasm gap. In most of the battleground states, the enthusiasm for Republicans is well over 80%. And in every battleground state that we've looked at, it's below 60% for the Democrats. And that enthusiasm gap can make a big difference in not just turnout and participation in the election, but the amount of doors walked, the amount of phone calls made, the amount of envelopes stuffed. It's a residual thing that'll filter all the way down through the campaign, all the way to November.
Meanwhile, the walls appear to be closing in on President Biden and his reelection campaign. A lot of the media is now where we are. And what I reported a month ago that Josh Shapiro was in the running to be the VP candidate. The Washington Post is reporting that, quote, former President Barack Obama has told allies in recent days that President Biden's path to victory has greatly diminished and that he thinks the president needs to seriously consider the viability of his candidacy. CNN is also reporting that former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, quote, privately told Biden polls show he cannot win and he will take down the House's opportunity to expand on the Democrat side, and that Biden responded with defensiveness. Watch.
Our campaign is not working through any scenarios where President Biden is not the top of the ticket. He is and will be the Democratic nominee. I don't want to be rude, but I do not know how many more times we can answer that. Joe Biden has said he is running for president of the United States. Our campaign is moving forward.
So, Robert, that was on Thursday at the, as you just heard from the Biden campaign. Your reaction to what's going down on that end of things?
Well, it's typical. You're running until you're not. And with this to be expected, they've got to show a level of confidence in case they do end up staying in the race and it doesn't work out to change. But I think this is more demonstrative of the fact that what we've seen in the last few years is the Republican Party has become much more of a party driven by grassroots donations, while the Democrat Party has moved toward major donors and corporations and celebrities. And when your party is that much controlled by the financing, then you have to listen to your financiers when they make a decision. And that's the freedom the Republican Party has that the Democrats just don't. When these guys exert force, it's going to be felt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there are reports that Kamala Harris has vetted or is in the middle of vetting 4 potential running mates. The Biden campaign is denying all of this, by the way. But the list includes the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, as well as the governor of the swing state of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. I was the first to report that Josh Shapiro was in the running after a leading Democrat told me that he thinks that it's going to be Kamala Harris and Josh Shapiro as the ticket. We'll see, Robert. Any thoughts on what this ticket looks like should Joe Biden step down by this Sunday, which is what the speculation is now?
Well, I think that what you'll see is the enthusiasm gap will change, and the Democrats will have some more enthusiasm if she puts Shapiro, or even if she did something like going to Gretchen Whitmer and was running an all-female ticket, that could be very motivational. But I think that what you may see, depending upon the process by which she's selected, will have a big impact on how much the Democrat Party comes together, and whether it's kind of a coronation at the convention or it's a fist fight.
Yeah, and of course the convention is in August. I mean, we're probably going to have a resolution to this way before that August convention, don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so. There's so much that has to be done. There's so much vetting, and they've got financial constraints that probably dictate that Kamala has to be there. And I've said for years, it has to be her. You can't be a party based on identity politics and then ignore identity politics when it's her turn. You just can't.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And that would be devastating for them.
Are there any other takeaways from your polling, Robert, that you want to share with us in terms of what you're seeing today? You said earlier that you did polling right after the assassination attempt to now. What else can you tell us about what strikes you in terms of what you're seeing in your polling?
Well, it's still, the race is still very tight in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan. Wisconsin and Michigan being the tightest two. And, that may be the reason that Kamala might want to move to Shapiro, because if they can secure that state, which is leaning more toward Trump than the other two, then they have a path. So what we're seeing is that you have a significant amount of people that are dug in on either side, but I think there is some play to be had with the people that are kind of the double haters, who are looking at, voting just kind of a protest vote for one of the third-party candidates. If those people come back to one of the main line party candidates, you can see a big difference. But just this number that you have a national poll that Trump has eclipsed 50 is just very significant, because he doesn't need to be anywhere near that to win this election. And so, the Republicans could be down by 2 or 3 points and still win the Electoral College. So to be ahead in national polling is just, it's kind of unprecedented, and we're seeing the momentum, but momentum can change. We've seen that, and at the drop of a hat.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
this is a long race, and
Pennsylvania is such a critical state, and that's one of the reasons that President Trump, I think, chose J.D. Vance as his running mate, because he's expecting him to give him that Rust Belt that includes Ohio, Pennsylvania, perhaps Michigan. What do you think the likelihood of that? Because that's why we're talking about Josh Shapiro on the Democrat ticket with Kamala Harris, and that's why we're talking about J.D. Vance on the Republican ticket with President Trump. Pennsylvania.
Well, those exact voters that, kind of the blue-collar Rust Belt voters are the ones that Trump won in 2016, and the ones that he kind of split with Biden a little bit last time. So it makes sense to have JD, who can really speak to many of the the devastated towns with factory closures and job shipping overseas, and this is like a story that he can relate to, and speak directly to those people that just feel left behind, and make the point that, hey, Biden's been here for 4 years and he hasn't done anything about it either. So I think that this is a chance to have those people return, and that's why J.D. Vance was an effective pick. But the one thing Republicans need to be really concerned about, the one thing I'm concerned about when I look at this, is I think Republican overconfidence could be a real problem here. Because right now, so much of the polling is dependent upon people not thinking Biden belongs there, and not so much about the issues. And we can't if you look at the Senate races and some of the races down ballot, those will be determined by the issues. So Republicans don't need to be overconfident, and we need to move on.
Yeah, it's a great point. You are absolutely spot on. Robert, good to see you. Thanks so much. Robert Cahaly joining us this morning from, as you can see, the RNC there in Wisconsin. We'll be right back. Stay with us.